We are back on this Street Fighter character style and development series. If you haven't already watched my video on Ryu and Ken, you should definitely do that. We have another set of characters of the female variety that also have a bit of a contrasting relationship and a rivalry, although not nearly as affectionate as Ryu and Ken, but it should make for an interesting conversation on perpendicular aesthetics, fashion, and vibes. So let's get into Chun-Li and Juri. Hola, my name is X, and I like to experiment with fashion as well as talk about whatever the hell I want on social media whenever I feel like it. And in this video, I'm going to give you the TLDR on the backstory and some context around Chun-Li and Juri, just so that we can get a bit more acquainted with those characters and set a good foundation for the rest of this conversation. And then with that piece, we're going to use it as a springboard into evaluating a bit more of what their personal style is. And yes, we are going to take a look at some imagined outfits for them just to get a bit more oriented. And we're also going to look at some real-world fashion designer parallels just to further reinforce some understanding and insight around how they dress and why maybe they look the way they do with their fashion and clothing choices. And from there, we're going to pivot over to the Street Fighter 6 concept art for each of the characters, just to kind of see if some of the real world parallels as well as the imagined outfits align with what the artists and developers had envisioned for how these characters could show up in evolving installments of the franchise. And finally, from there, we're going to take a look at their alternate costumes and outfits between the Street Fighter 4 and Street Fighter 6 installments of the franchise and see if we can map some of that understanding we got from the previous parts into their evolution in design. All right, let's start the style evaluation off with Chun-Li, who is easily one of the most iconic female characters in all of video game history. Chun-Li is a lady of justice, honor, and duty, and I think that we can see this on multiple dimensions when we look at her story. First, she honors her mother in a way by dressing like her, and she honors her father, who was kidnapped and I believe even murdered by the Shadaloo organization, by joining the Interpol, which is a police organization that investigates narcotics and those involved with the Shadaloo organization. And within that line of work, she takes improving as a fighter and improving as a person very seriously and stays disciplined, composed, and focused and balanced. She just is overall a really well-rounded person, and we can see that once she's done defeating M. Bison and the Shadaloo organization has been defeated, she goes back to just enjoying the finer and beautiful things in life, such as fashion and cuisine, and giving back to her community, which is another dimension of her sense of duty and honor. She teaches Kung Fu classes, which is something that you see within the Street Fighter 6 story. And she gets insulted if you look at her well-developed thighs by saying that they're thick. She prefers if people look at her figure as a sense of inspiration because of all the great work that she's put into her fighting and her techniques and overall her self-improvement. She's very similar to Ryu in that regard. When we look at her personal style, we obviously are looking at attire that has a certain layer of consistent sophistication, elevation, and class. Like I mentioned, she dresses like her mother, and her mother used to wear chapaos, or pretty much cheongsams, which is more of a modern version of that. So I think that her wardrobe would consist of variations of that traditional Oriental style, as well as I would say maybe some high-waisted items paired with cropped items just to further complement her curvy silhouette. She is very elite, not only in the work that she does, but also the qualities that she has. So we definitely want to make sure that that's manifesting through her clothing in the form of quality materials and very unique and luxurious designs that can do her spirit justice. And as far as real-world fashion designer brands, I definitely want to stay within that Cheongsam territory. And some designers that do that very well are Vivienne Tom. Love the recent looks from the fall-winter 2024 collection of hers. Like, look at these. I love the variety here. just enough to not make this feel too one-dimensional. But for maybe something that's not so literally translated, I think that Tadashi Shoji also has some great variety in styles, particularly what it looks like from the Spring 2020 collection. And I just really love how modern this looks. But if Chun-Li was feeling extra and wanted to go for something especially couture, then I think that Guo would be a very great choice. So artistic, so architectural even in some of the designs. I believe she's had some of her pieces even featured within museums. Now pivoting over to the Street Fighter 6 concept art for Chun-Li, just to kind of see how maybe some of what we just reviewed aligns with what some of the developers and artists envisioned. I will say that I was a bit surprised by how close in vicinity all of these looks are to one another. It almost kind of feels like Ryu in that regard. What I liked about Ken's concept art is that we got a variety of different aesthetics. With Chun-Li, they definitely stayed a bit more of the kind of fighting, Asian-inspired, cultural, which there's nothing wrong with that, but I would have maybe liked to see something a little more out of the box for her. I will say that I love, most of all, the main hero look. Like, it just looks so sharp. Still kind of plays with what she's looked like in the past, but brings that into a new, modern, fresh aesthetic. And then I also love the white look, and that's even something that I kind of would have envisioned for her as well. It once again plays with the traditional look of a cheongsam, but gives it more of that kind of pant fighter fit and comfort. Okay, but now that we've taken a look at some of the context around her, gotten a sense of her personal style, let's actually review and analyze Chun-Li's alternate costumes and outfits between the Street Fighter 4 and Street Fighter 6 installments. Starting with Street Fighter 4 and actually looking at her default. So I was reading on the wiki that they essentially just really wanted to go with, again, a Chiao Pao, but they wanted to make it more loose and free form, given that she's a fighter and she needs to be athletic and needs to have some fluid movement. So that's exactly what this is depicting. And I believe the spiked kind of wristbands were just to give her more allure and rigor and toughness and intimidation. Outside of that, similar to the guys, Ryu and Ken, there's not much more to say. It's classic, essentially timeless, just with a good fighter spin. This first alternate outfit is essentially the same thing, but more of a gown, a little more chic for perhaps a night out, for a good dinner or a date or something. And it has what I believe is also still very core to Chun-Li's personal style, which is gold accents and gold details, just to really maintain that sense of luxury and class. So very much more body confident, and I love that for her. This is also pretty much playing within the same territory, but I love a bit more of the playfulness in asymmetry. Something that I don't think is out of the realm for her as well. She might be composed and balanced, but she still needs things that have a sense of femininity to it and drama. And I think that that's exactly what this has. And some great structure still, like within the shoulders, cool pattern, loving it. This one moves much more into just the kind of form fit. It still does kind of follow the I'm sure if I'm saying Chiao Pao wrong, you're probably so annoyed, but like kind of follows that same kind of top, just more in a crop oriented manner, which again, I think that having like cropped elements and more high waisted kind of pants or bottoms allows her figure to truly shine without having to show the skin. Now, this is a look that is a bit unexpected. When I first saw this, I was like, oh, that's interesting. I mean, it's playful, it's cute. Not to say that she can't dress that way, perhaps when she was even younger, but definitely not something that I would have expected. And I can't even say that it's even the best coordinated look for her. So what I love about this one is I believe even like Ken had a bird inspired type costume. But what I love about this one for Chun-Li is it feels graceful. Like the feathers move in a graceful manner and the pieces blend very well with some of the clothing items that she already had in place, and it gives her an interesting silhouette as well, and even changes up the hair from the buttons that we always see. Similar to Ryu, I loved his. I thought it was kind of a creative way to depict something formal, perhaps if it wasn't so distressed for the sake of like zombie-esque. Love the same thing for her. This in isolation is such a gorgeous ensemble, just like the stockings and the kind of dress and even how the dress has some texture to it, and of course the consistent gold elements that gives it that luxury and class. That actually quickly wraps up Street Fighter 4, and we move into Street Fighter 5, starting with her story alternate costume. An officer look, a very casual officer look. It's cute, it shows off her silhouette, decently coordinated. I mean, not much more to say. And even Battle Outfit 1, something similar we also just saw in Street Fighter 4. But what I like about this one is that we're getting, I think, even stronger leg action here, because that dress just looks very thin in the front, which that's not a bad thing. I love the body confidence, and I love the long hair. It just really further adds to her femininity, takes her out of that strictly sporty kind of framework. The school uniform, I think I kind of hate it. Like, I'm surprised like how much this does not complement her body type and silhouette. Like, the skirt is not looking like how I would have thought it would look. Like, we could have at least maybe made it a little bit shorter. And of course, like, we've seen a typical schoolgirl look. The vacation look, I'm surprised they didn't play with something this skimpy for her earlier. Absolutely looking great. Like, she's working that look. And I love that it's still kind of like a bluish color to stay in line with like her go-to signature color as well. The pajamas, like, are those really pajamas? Just feels like another great excuse for some fan service. It's soft, it's cute, it's feminine, plenty of body confidence. And it looks like nice silky material, and we even get a different hairstyle for her as well. So she has the range. Now this undercover cop look is much stronger than the other officer look. It just seems like it has a little bit more layer to it, or just more thickness or more density. That's the word I'm looking for. And I think the darker tone adds just to something a bit more mysterious and not so kind of bright like we typically get, or vibrant. And same with the special forces. It just adds some more armor pieces, which gives more texture, and it's even a richer blue. So just giving her just more of that edge. We know that she's already tough and cool, but something that pushes her edge to even a greater extent just shows the level of dedication she has to the role, but also just that she has the range and the seriousness to go there. The training one just feels like a mishmash of pretty much the special forces and what she was already wearing. Like, it makes practical sense, but the leg guards are cool, but covert operations, yes. Even though I think again, we've seen this like dress on her before, but I think the addition of the scarf just really pushes it up one more notch. Easy elevation and a great contrast to the black. Wedding is a very much needed, very delicate look for her. Like I was saying, she needs those soft, delicate, luxurious fabrics just to also manifest that strong feminine side that she has, the beauty of it all. And I think it's another great silhouette with lovely cascading fabrics that only complement her amazing fighting technique and leg movements. I actually like CPT better than the covert operations. Like, I love her in stockings. It's just like, we know she's got the leg. We don't need to see the skin. Just give us something that is also elevated, but shows that amazing form of her body. And this is exactly what that's doing with another great scarf accessory. Now, Professional has a skirt type that I think is much more complementary to her body type and doesn't just make her look frumpy. I don't even know how someone like her could even manage to look that way, but the school uniform was not it. Something shorter with a little bit more of a slit just to give some more free form, because her legs are working. Just looks so chic and effortlessly polished. Now, this is a swimsuit that I feel like is much more fitting of a lady of her stature. Like, she needs something long and flowing. Like, give us a peek of some leg. We don't need to see all of it coming at us so much. Like, give us something a little more graceful, a little more classy. And this is exactly what that's doing with an incredible design on it. Love this Morrigan cosplay from Darkstalkers. I already thought that this character was kind of cool. I haven't taken a deep look at Darkstalkers, but love the wing elements. And I think that actually mirrors her legs very well and is a good kind of accent and complement to that in terms of like silhouette and form. Fun, and even Morgan has, I think, of a little bit of an elevated style anyway, which I think aligns and parallels to Chun-Li's perfectly. June, I love this outfit actually a lot. Don't know if this is a specific character from anywhere, but I just really like those standout rounded elements from the knees and just the overall kind of rounded shape of the design. A bit of a flare around the waist of the top that just surrounds her thighs in such a perfect way. I love the sleeves, so cute and playful, but still feels nicely put together. Like, it still is kind of high fashion. And I like the BCRF. Ryu also had an outfit very similar to this. I like how she kind of parallels a little bit of his style in different ways, but I love that hers has a much more feminine twist to it, whether it's how it has like a tail and opens up and surrounds her hips very well. Like, just those rounded elements around her waist, especially when it's a little higher up, is perfect for her body type. And even though we've already looked at her Street Fighter 6 outfits, at least 2 of them, if you haven't already seen my top favorite Street Fighter 6 outfits, check it out. But I mean, once again, I'll say for her default, like, I just like that this reimagined one is of a softer palette. We still get plenty of blue, we still get plenty of gold detail, which we know is signature to her style, but it's just softer. And it feels like it actually reflects like a more relaxed, easy breezy lifestyle that she now lives teaching Kung Fu classes in her community. Like, it just feels so effortless and just at peace. And I love that for her. But I love the alternate outfit. Like, I just want to talk about it again. Like, it just looks so good. It's casual, but still elevated because of all the gold detail and like quality to the clothing. Like, you know that she paid some good money for this, or she found it at a great boutique, unique artisan that gave her a special discount because she's all about the community. Like, really want to see them play with more of this style for her. Cool. Now that we've covered Chun-Li's style overview and development and alternates, let's move over to taking a look at Juri. And a quick cross-section between the two characters, we will obviously see that they are almost complete contrast to one another. They have a similar backstory and tragedy in their early life, but how they handled it is completely different. Juri in her early life was considered a beautiful genius. It seemed like she probably almost had the perfect life, but the Shadaloo organization came through and disrupted that, especially when her father started to get hip to them. And in an ordeal, she lost both of her parents and her left eye. So that apparently must have just launched her completely into the abyss and darkness, because from that point on, she pretty much sought revenge. Not part of any specific organization. She's just a rogue, wild character and sadistic, out to make people almost feel the pain that she feels deep down inside. That unfortunate psychological trauma and disorder that she's dealing with is only further highlighted by the fact that once the Shadaloo Institute was brought to a close, it's almost like she's running aimlessly around without any sort of motivation or focus. She's just now out for pain and the pleasure of thrills and danger and risk. And so it should come as no surprise that she doesn't like buzzkills, she hates rules, and she loves motorcycles and spiders. What is wrong with her? What is wrong with this girl? So when we look at her personal style, we obviously want things that are alternative. But plenty of body confidence, pants, and crop tops, I think, are strong statement items of hers. I loved in her latest kind of redesign in Street Fighter 6, how there's just such great detail in the pants that she wears. And I think that complements her fighting techniques very well. And if she's out for causing chaos all the time and riding motorcycles and just out for a rush, she needs something that kind of balances interesting, rugged, out-of-the-box experimental design, but is also very functional and comfortable and accommodating to movement as well. A little bit street style, but there's still plenty of a touch of femininity within her style. And some real world fashion designer brands that I think do this well. I didn't want to just keep doing Rick Owens, Alexander McQueen. Like, I've already covered those plenty of times when it comes to darker aesthetics, especially runway. But I Am Gia is an Australian brand, and I believe they're pretty affordable. So something that's also accessible. So I think that this is at least a good starting point for trying to emulate her style. Next, we move into Kith, which I think also plays well within like the crop top, jacket, sportier bottom kind of mix, but it's a little more elevated, but plenty street style. But a brand that maybe is a little more aspirational, but gives a little more refinement to such a wild, chaotic, rugged style like Juri's is Alex Studio. I just think that they also dabble plenty within cropped looks, coordinated sets, but the materials feel a little more luxurious, but still a little experimental and out of the box. So when we look at the concept art for her, I mean, this is exactly what I would expect. Also within a certain vicinity, but a couple of different flexes in different style for her than what she's been depicted in, at least default across some of the installments. Like I was saying, and I drew a bit from this as well, some lighter color like a white, like a silver, just to help the darker colors like black, a richer purple, pop a bit more. She is a bit of a femme fatale and flirtatious in how she taunts other fighters and other people. So something that is just a bit alluring, but also kind of intimidating makes total sense. Some maximalist looks with plenty of layers, belts and buckles, but also something that's a little more stripped down that just shows her incredible athletic figure. So I overall think that this is one of the strongest representations, the wildness and untamed nature of someone like Juri's style. But now that we've gotten a little more acquainted with her context and who she is and how she dresses, let's see how she's evolved with her style between Street Fighter 4 and Street Fighter 6. So starting with her default, I actually thought that her Street Fighter 6 outfit was a bit more novel, but it just really feels like it was a reinvention of this one with incredible additional details added and woven in within her style and some more vibrant colors that are complementary. So this is pretty much it, like a chap style look with some sort of legging underneath and that interesting kind of crop top with those fingerless gloves. Just strong statement kind of accessorizing and cutout design. This one is so bare bones. Like, it honestly looks exactly like I Am Gia. Like, that's pretty much what this is. Something so simple, crop and pant situation. I actually really like this jumpsuit very well because it gives us a great kind of form fit silhouette, but also gives us a nice peek of some cleavage for her as well, and breaks her out of some of the black that she typically wears, which I think is a good change, but we still have a dark purple color to still give a sense of that depth, chaos, and richness. And I like the belt. It has a little bit of a dangle to it, and even almost like a little bit of a heeled like flat or shoe, which I think is cute, a little more elevated than usual. This one's actually really cute. Like, it's actually a little more playful than what I would have expected from her style. And it's a little bit of a different hairstyle too, which I love when a character that has a typical consistent hairstyle can kind of break out of that a bit. Love the shoes and stockings, love the scarf that she has just to further add movement and drama to her fighting. There is a lot going on here. Like, I think that this highlights the chaos and maybe a bit of the duality that she has, but really more so the chaotic side of her style. There's just, it feels like such a mishmash. Again, great kind of leg details. That's always going to be signature, whether it's actual pants or just some sort of like leg guard or leg wrap. Really is well coordinated, balances itself out just in terms of how pieces mirror each other from top to bottom. Very interesting. Somehow a jester type costume makes total sense for someone like her. Like, she's a wild card. Like, you don't know what you're gonna get from someone like her, and I feel like a jester type style, just with the varied print and how it's just kind of a little here and there, but mirrors itself pretty well, a little asymmetrical, unpredictability. And I feel like that's so her. All right, moving into the Street Fighter 5 looks and costumes. I love this new default. Like, Such, once again, a great form-fitting bodysuit. I just love how all these different pieces really draw you in and are just a little all over the place. Like, you really have to look at the whole suit, top to bottom. Definitely prevents it from looking too flat. And overall just is a little more elevated for her as well. So I like when if she's not wearing a crop coordinated set, something like this does her total justice. But the story look is kind of ugly. Like, I feel like it's a random blue like jacket. Love the style of the jacket with like the asymmetrical collar. I don't know if it's maybe a little too plain for her and I'm just like not feeling it, or if I'm just like really married to the magenta, black and purple, but this feels weird. I don't think I like it at all. Like, maybe if the jacket were purple, but I just don't think I like the different pieces together. It doesn't even feel like it's very coordinated. Battle outfit number 1, refreshing. Once again, like simple legging cropped look. This is very much more clean than usual, with even her hair down, like clean and casual, but cute. I like this for her too. Halloween, duh. Like, yeah, that makes sense. And I like the kind of garter strap detail with the stockings. Like, she's a bad girl, obviously. And the skirt is a very cute look for her, especially just in more of a darker orientation and aesthetic like this. And the holiday one isn't really like breaking away from that too much, but it's still really cute. And I feel like if she's gonna do something that's a little more kind of cozy Christmas holiday, she's gonna do it in a bit more of a like sexy wild girl style. And I feel like this certainly does that justice. The school uniform, oh yeah. It's giving you have detention like 3 weeks in a row, like all year round. And it's almost kind of giving the craft, like a very stark contrast from Chun-Li's school uniform, and much better. This swimsuit, like it's much more of an exposed leg look than we've ever gotten, but is it like a wet suit top? Feels definitely imbalanced. Not out of the realm of maybe what she would go for, but it just is it's a little odd to me. Lilith is another great Darkstalkers aesthetic. The color palette isn't as great to me as Morrigan's, but it's kind of nice to see her out of her strictly kind of chaotic attire. So something that's still dark, but just a little bit different. This mech one is absolutely it. Like, this is a great realm for her, a great view of the chest, like some of the best cleavage she's ever given us. And just love those luminescent details in the back, those light details. Excellent. Like, actually, I'm obsessed with this. True Boss, yeah. Just love all the different fabric situation going on in the bottom. Like, signature leg wrap situation, bra crop situation. But I like the purple, like, wrap in addition to the skirt. She just looks like she's in charge, and I love when her hair's down. Yep, Spider is, yep, this is consistent with exactly what we reviewed and discussed for her. Like, this is her style. Something that can even be like a jacket, but it's coordinated. Like, there's some coordination, purple, black, and I think the little bit of heel and like stocking sock situation is interesting, but it's a nice contrast to the rest of the baggy, laid back nature of the outfit. I'm loving it. Professional, is she like a bad girl nurse? I feel like they always make like villain characters like this bad girl nurse. I don't know if that's what she's trying to embody, but it's cute. It's definitely a softer aesthetic for her, but like we've seen, it's giving kind of Kill Bill. But yeah, we can definitely see once again, just looking at her default outfit in Street Fighter 6, that like so much more detail, just so much more interesting elements going on. The top is actually just a lot different. It's so much shorter, and it's even in a different orientation. And I just really love all the different trim details going on in the pants and the chap style. And the same with like the turquoise color to complement all of it. Like I was saying, some sort of lighter color like a silver, or just something else to help the black and the purple pop. And I didn't look at this alternate costume because I mean, it's not a favorite. It's just like an interesting pajama type look. But it's actually a slightly different kind of hairstyle, which is kind of cute. And overall, just one of the softest aesthetics she's had throughout the entire franchise so far. So a little flex in range, and perhaps even showing her softer side and a little bit of duality that she has. But you know she's got to show us what's going on underneath, which is very signature. So I like that it's dabbling in something cutesier and more fun, but still giving that sexy, alluring edge that we know is true to her character. All right, that is another set of Street Fighter characters that we've gotten a bit more acquainted with and reviewed a bit more intimately as far as style, fashion, and aesthetics. So I hope, similar to Ryu and Ken, you maybe learned a little bit that you didn't know already, and that you maybe are even encouraged to try out these characters in the battle arena. What is your favorite outfit between these two lovely ladies? Know that there's plenty of fashion still residing within the Street Fighter franchise, so I'm sure there's some more characters that I'll be visiting. And then Tekken, yes, will make its way through eventually. I don't need to be constantly spammed about it, but looking forward to reaching that as well, just to continue to feed the FGC. But until the next video, I'll talk to you later.